This is the newsroom for today, Wednesday, February 3, 2021. We're broadcasting to you on E1, Scar TV, NTN, and Tarzi TV in Bartica. In the headlines, the decision to release the 2 detained Guyanese fishing vessels and send home the 12-member crew was made by Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro, and the Foreign Minister Hugh Todd says this bodes well for the relationship between the two countries.
It helps to rebuild some of the bridges between Guyana and Venezuela.
A taxi driver is shot dead in northeast La Penitence. Cinemas told to install special air filters in order to be granted approval to reopen for business. In tonight's feature, we highlight the charitable work of the Selfie Boss. And in sport, Leon Johnson eyes title and player development in upcoming Super 50, and Chris Gayle smashes brutal 84 of 22 balls in T10 League. With the news, I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for joining us. The decision to release the 2 detained Guyanese fishing vessels and send home the 12-member crew was made by the Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro himself. A statement from Guyana's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation noted on Wednesday. Guyana had sounded a warning that it would not hold bilateral talks with its neighbor Venezuela until that country puts an end to its aggressive stance. But with the release of the 12-member crew, Guyana's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Hugh Todd, said he believes it bodes well for country-to-country dialogue. Kurt Campbell joins us now.
Guyana's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Hugh Todd, on Wednesday commended the Nicolás Maduro administration for what he said was the early release of 12 Guyanese fishermen and their 2 vessels. The men, who had been detained in Venezuela for almost 2 weeks on a false claim that they were fishing in Venezuela's waters, were released on Tuesday night. They began their journey home early Wednesday morning. Todd says he sees their release as consistent with international law and norms.
I see the release as an action that is consistent with international law and norms. And I think we must commend the government of Venezuela for an early release that shows goodwill, and it helps to rebuild some of the bridges between Guyana and Venezuela, and also by extension and the rest of the Caribbean community.
Todd also heaped praise on President Irrifan Ali. He said it was Dr. Ali's leadership at home and across the Caribbean region that brought pressure to bear on Venezuela and in turn allowed for the men's release. Todd believes the men's release now opens the door for the 2 countries, although sharing a border controversy, to work on other bilateral matters.
I think the early release, if I can use that term, of the vessels provides a political space for dialogue in terms of interstate relations. And I think that it's a good show from the Maduro administration, and we must commend them. At the same time, we must commend His Excellency President Ali for his leadership and direction in this regard, not only in leading Guyana, but also his leadership within the Caribbean community, in rallying the member states around one cause that has been consistent by the community of nations.
In his address to the nation on Saturday last, President Ali made it clear that he will not bend to threats to Guyana's national security. The Commander-in-Chief also emphasized that he had no intention to engage Venezuela bilaterally unless it stops its aggression towards Guyana. He said that Guyana remains open to good neighborly relations with Venezuela, and it is not averse to engaging them on issues such as the increasing number of Venezuelan migrants in Guyana and the COVID-19 pandemic. But those talks will not take place while Venezuela continues its aggression stance in pursuit of Guyana's sovereign territory. The 12-member fishing crew is expected to arrive in Georgetown late Thursday or early Friday morning. In addition to the false claims that the men were in their waters, Venezuela also accused the crew of having among their catch the protected species of the hammerhead shark, a fish that is prohibited from being trawled. Venezuela had been under mounting regional and international pressure to release the men. just over a week after Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro issued a decree and laid claim to the Essequibo, Guyana received distressing reports on January 21, 2021 that the Venezuelan naval vessel seized 2 Guyanese fishing vessels and detained its 12-member crew. The 2 vessels were intercepted by Venezuelan naval vessel Commander Hugo Chavez while operating off the coast of Winey Point in Guyana's waters. Guyana sprang into action, issuing a formal protest against the illegal act, with growing support from the international community calling for the release and return of the vessels and crew. Guyana continues to maintain that the men were arrested and detained while fishing in waters well within its exclusive economic zone, and that the borders between the 2 countries were settled by an 1899 arbitral award. Venezuela's rejection of the award has led to Guyana seeking a judicial settlement of the matter, which is currently before the International Court of Justice. Those who were detained are Tony Garway, Errol Gardner, Erland Roberts, Christopher Shaw, Shervin O'Neill, and Randy Henry from the Seawolf crew. Those that were detained from the Lady Nayera crew are Richard Ramnarine, Ramlakan Kamal, Nick Ragubar, Javin Boston, Michael, and Joel Joseph.
Thank you, Kurt. Now, police are investigating the circumstances surrounding the murder of 29-year-old Osafa Pollard, a taxi driver of West La Penitence, Georgetown, who was shot in the head on Tuesday night. Pollard was shot once to the head at around 22 hours 30 while at Northeast La Penitence in Georgetown. He died while receiving treatment at the Georgetown Public Hospital. The regional commander, Senior Superintendent Kali Parshram, told the newsroom that details surrounding the incident remain sketchy. The commander said several persons in the area were questioned, but information has not been forthcoming. The Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, has revealed that cinemas were told to install HEPA air filters in order to be granted approval to reopen for business. The recommendation to install these filters comes after an assessment of the cinemas was conducted by the Health Ministry. During Wednesday's daily COVID-19 update, Dr. Anthony explained that the filters will be able to clear the air of viral particles if an infected asymptomatic person is inside the cinema. Additionally, Dr. Anthony said if cinemas are to be reopened, persons will not be allowed to eat or drink while inside, as this would require them to take off their masks. The cinema owners have been calling on the government for some time now to grant them approval to reopen, as many jobs in the industry have been lost due to the continued closure since March 2020.
With cinemas, we have had specific conversations with the cinema owners. We had teams that went in to assess the cinemas and the indoor space that they have. And that team that went in made recommendations to the cinema owners for them to install HEPA filters, which means that if somebody comes to the cinema and they have been infected and they're asymptomatic and they cough, that these HEPA filters would be able to clear out the viral particles. Since those recommendations were made, I'm not aware that any of the cinemas have installed such filters, and therefore we'll have to get another engagement with them to see whether or not they would be installing these. In addition to that, if you're going to reopen cinemas, then the preference would be not to have people eat or drink, because eating and drinking would require that you take off your mask. And again, as we know, transmission would occur once people's nose and mouths are exposed and we are in close proximity or in an enclosed space, then the likelihood of transmission can occur in such spaces.
Now, 32-year-old Mark Gomes, a supervisor with the Edward B. Harry and Company Limited, died on Tuesday after he was struck off a truck by pressurized air. Police headquarters in a statement revealed that Gomes of Long Pond, Sisters Village, West Bank, Demerara, was at the company's Mandela Avenue, Georgetown location supervising the transfer of flour from a pressure tank. The tank was mounted on a truck which was connected to a silo. Police said during this process, the pressure tank began whistling, and upon investigation, Gomes climbed onto the back of the truck when a hose connected to the tank and silo disconnected, causing the pressurized air to hit him in the face. As a result, he fell to the ground. He was taken to the Woodlands Hospital where he was pronounced dead. Police said they are reviewing CCTV footage of the incident as investigations continue. When the newsroom returns, millions pumped into West Watuka in Region 10 to improve drainage and irrigation, and Guyana sends COVID-19 samples to the US for testing of the new variants. Stay tuned, you're watching the Newsroom. Police, in collaboration with the Regional Democratic Council of Region 3, conducted a road clearing exercise on Tuesday and removed a number of vendors who were preventing the free flow of traffic and use of the pedestrian walkway at the Reed and Hoop Junction on the west coast of Demerara. Police headquarters noted that 6 shops were removed with the cooperation of the vendors. It was noted that these shops were directly impeding the free movement of pedestrians from utilizing the pedestrian walkways that are so designated. The removal of these vendors and their stalls will allow for the cleaning of the side drain and walkway. The Ministry of Agriculture, through the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority, on Tuesday awarded contracts valued over $174 million to upgrade drainage, irrigation and other critical agriculture structures in West Watuka Region 10. Kurt Campbell reports.
3 contracts valued at $174 million were signed by the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority's NDIA's Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Frederick Flats, and contractors in Linden Region 10 on Tuesday. Cascan Engineering Services was awarded a $41 million contract to construct the conservancy dams and rehabilitate the drainage and irrigation channels in the community. Additionally, M&P Investment signed a $116 million contract to build drainage and irrigation structures. Both documents have a duration of 12 months. E&A Consultants Incorporated were also hired as the consultancy service for the design, review and supervision of construction of dams and drainage and irrigation structures. That contract, which is valued at $17 million, has a duration of 8 months. Minister of Agriculture Zulfikar Mustafa, who overlooked the process, said the contracts are to upgrade drainage, irrigation or the critical agricultural structures in West Watuka. Minister Mustafa said the government's investment will significantly boost agriculture in the district.
So Region 10 West Watuka will have their own conservancies. That means that you could plant and you could do farming the entire year because you'll have your own water. Drought will not affect you anymore after the construction of this conservancy.
Further, the minister advised residents to establish a committee to monitor and examine the works until their completion.
I also want the NDIA to share to the residents a bill of quantity and price bill of quantity so that they can know the specification of the work. And I want the residents also to help us monitor it. So I need a committee to form here, Mr. Flats. The residents must work along with the consultant so that we can have a project. At the end of it, everybody must be satisfied. We must not shortchange anyone. And I want to ensure that we have work for the taxpayers' money of our country. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am very happy to be here this morning. As I said, that this is an investment. This is an investment for the people of West Watuka. And this is an investment not only for now, but the future generation. And this will help West Watuka to develop from a small community to a community that will advance and take care of the future of Linden. Thank you very much.
The contracts followed closely on the heels of requests from farmers made to Minister of Agriculture Zulfikar Mustafa when he visited the area last year. At that time, they had asked for an excavator to be provided for drainage and irrigation works. The machine was dispatched the following day, and to date it has cleared about 4,000 rods of canals.
Now, the government is exploring the possibility of sending COVID-19 samples to the United States Center for Disease Control to test for the new variants. The Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, said they are in talks with the Pan American Health Organization, that's PAHO, for this to happen. Guyana has also been sending samples to the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPA, to test for the new variants, but the results are not yet available.
Genetic sequencing is a very complicated procedure, and right now we don't have that capacity. Maybe in the future we'll try to build that capacity, but it's really a complicated process. Not just the equipment, but you have to get specialized specialists in this area to be able to run the tests, do the analyses, and so forth. We would like to build that capacity, but it would take some time. We wouldn't be able to do that immediately. But as of now, we have been able to work out a relationship with CARPA, And through that relationship, we'll be sending at least 10 samples every month to CARFA so that they will help us with the genetic sequencing. We are also exploring a possibility through PAHO to send samples up to the US for the Center of Disease Control to assist us to do sequencing in the United States. So right now we are working out those details through PAHO to be able to send additional samples to the United States.
Still ahead on the newsroom, we highlight the charitable work of the Selfie Boss, and a new company is offering home healthcare medical services. This is the newsroom. With the intention of bringing relief to persons from across Guyana, Kelvin Fortune, popularly known on social media as the Selfie Boss, a humble young man who resides in Prashad Nagar, is the founder of a non-profit charitable group, Youths for Better Living. The organization was initially conceptualized in 2002 but suffered some setbacks. However, on March 13 last, YBL was relaunched at the Umanayana, and for the past 10 months, it has been making an impact on the lives of persons all across Guyana and even in some Caribbean countries. The charitable group, which continues to grow, currently has 70 volunteers.
The group started while there was a rise of racism in Guyana. So what I wanted to do is have persons from various religion, various political parties, various race, and have them together in one to try to eliminate racism here in Guyana. We have different programs that we have launched. We have the Before Knife and Fork initiative, where we have like seeds, and where persons like single mothers and single fathers can able to plant in their backyards. Because like I said, with the pandemic, and we have to prepare for future pandemics so that we will able to sustain ourselves. So we launched the Before Knife and Fork initiative, where persons can plant seeds and plant the vegetables and greens. We have a single mother project where we assist that isn't fully launched as yet, but we'll be assisting single mothers to have their own business, small businesses. We have the hamper project, where we distribute hampers in communities. We distribute hampers to single mothers, senior citizens, people living with disabilities, like I said. We assist cancer patients who are part of our group. We assist persons who are doing surgeries. So we have our homeless children initiative, where we look for children who are homeless, and we try to link them with other agencies and other organizations to get homes for them. And so far, we have been able to distribute 9,500 hampers to single mothers around the country. We have been able to honor 1,000 frontline workers, nurses, doctors. We will be able to distribute food supplies to them, certificate of appreciation, especially to our COVID-19 nurses and doctors. We were able to give them certificate of appreciation and food supplies. One of the main challenges we face is finance, resource. Launching a group to do stuff for the communities and for the country, it was very challenging, because some people mind it's on the election, then you have to deal with the racism, then you have to deal with the pandemic. So it's very hard. Again, it was challenging, but at the end of the day, we were able to accomplish a lot for a group that only launched March 2020. Because so much of persons reach out to us, and we cannot help everyone. I know some people are saying, oh, you're going to help this community, you're going here, you're coming here. It's very hard. We don't have like a grant, or we don't have a big company that supports us. I believe that I was placed to help those who are going through the same thing, because it wasn't easy. and a lot of strangers assisted me, a lot of strangers helped me. So this motivated me to say, well, you know what, let me reach out to people, let me help people, because strangers didn't turn their back on me. Eventually, what I wanted to do is move from a group to an organization, an international organization, where we have different departments that deal with different problems.
As Kelvin continues to expand Youth for Better Living, he wishes to thank all the sponsors and persons who have been willingly donating to the organization. Those willing to assist can call 661-4580. Now, a modern and new healthcare service that will eliminate patients having to leave their homes has been introduced in Guyana by OnCall Medical Solutions, Inc. Managing Director of the company, Dr. Kofi Dalrymple, during an interview with Newsroom's Isabella Patwa, explained how telehealth and concierge medical services can change the face of healthcare in Guyana. The company offers on-call medical services, which include physical exams, medication delivery, and sample collection for COVID-19 testing. The Managing Director further explained how this service will reduce high medical bills and save lives.
So we have with us here Dr. Kofi Dalrymple, the Managing Director for a newly launched medical health service company, OnCall Medical Solutions. Can you explain more to us what is it that you do? I know you're offering new services in terms of telehealth and concierge medical services, but can you explain more as to what this entails?
So we are a company that's formed by Guyanese, local Guyanese, who are mostly in the medical field, healthcare providers. Most of them are doctors and a couple of nurses. I am the only non-medical person on the team. I'm an engineer with a PhD in engineering. We see ourselves as a technology company, a technology platform. And so essentially what we're doing is, on the one hand, there are patients all across Guyana who need access to healthcare. And then on the other hand, there are healthcare providers all across the country. And the current model for most people is, if we need access to healthcare, people often wait until they're very sick for an emergency, and then they'll rush to the hospital. So for example, if you are in, I don't know, South Georgetown, and you need access to a doctor, we believe you shouldn't have to leave South Georgetown and go somewhere. If there's a doctor who's your neighbor, what if there's a doctor passing through South that could actually go and see you? And so what we're doing is creating a technology platform that's able to connect those patients and those doctors. And that's at the simplest level how we're working. We're not an emergency service. So for example, if someone calls with an emergency, we would refer them still to the ambulance service.
Will the company be working with any specific hospital in terms of a patient needs surgery or any further medical care?
No. We want to expand the service. This is something that we do have in our plan. So we've started to build our network, and so for example, we've sat down with a private lab here in Guyana, and we've talked about how we can integrate their system with our system. And so one of the services that we can offer, and we do offer, is, for example, coming to a patient's home or office to be able to take a blood sample if they have to. So if you had to do blood work, you'd go to the lab and you'll wait and you'll stand in line and they'll pull the blood work, and then it'll get submitted and you go back and get your paperwork. Well, we want to move away a little bit from that and offer this convenience that, well, call us, and if you have to do blood work, we can send someone, right, a phlebotomist or a doctor, to come out, take that sample and actually take it to the lab, and then you'll get your results. And so we're building an electronic medical records system. We've got an app for this. So the patient's information goes into the app, and then we're looking for ways to connect that app, for example, with the lab. We started to talk to other businesses, for example, that's doing something like Meditaxi, that's moving people around. And we're starting to talk to pharmacies and local private clinics where patients can go there and either meet our doctors or meet other doctors.
With everything revolving around the COVID-19 pandemic, will OnCall Solutions be offering COVID tests?
Yes, I'm glad you said that, because I just did mine today.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about your team, the team of doctors or nurses you have on board, and whether this service would be available to persons countrywide, patients countrywide?
As long as there's a doctor in any part of the country and there's a patient there, we're going to go countrywide. Yeah, so people can contact us. We do have a website. It's oncallguyana.com. That's OnCall, ONCALL, Guyana.com. So folks can go to our website and check our website out. And of course, we'll be adding more and more things to the website. We can also be emailed at oncall@oncallguyana.com. That's oncall@oncallguyana.com. We can also be reached at 624 OCMS. OCMS as an On-Call Medical Solution, so 624 OCMS, which is 624-6267.
When the newsroom returns, the financial weather and bird reports along with sports. Welcome back to Newsroom. Now for a look at what's happening in sport. We're starting off with some cricket news. Shakib Al Hassan steadied Bangladesh on his test return as the Tigers closed day one of the series opener against West Indies on 242 for 5. Shakib back in international cricket after serving a one-year ban for failing to report a corrupt approach, headed to the wicket at number 6 with his side tottering at 134 for 4 in Chittagong. However, the all-rounder ended the day on 39 not out and proceeded to share a 59-run partnership with Mushfiqur Rahim, who made 38, and then an unbroken 49 with Lithan Das, who is on 34 not out. The left-arm spinner Jamal Warrican, who has picked up 3 for 58 thus far, reflected on the day's play.
Good day, Jamal. Congrats on your performance today.
Thank you very much.
The Bangladeshi batsmen are known to being able to play left-arm spin. What do you think was the key to getting the best of them today?
Being disciplined and being accurate at the same time and setting the right fields.
How was the pitch?
The pitch is very good for batting. When the ball's a bit harder, it's a big Jim got some turn, but as the ball got older, you could see how good the wicket was, and you had to be disciplined in order to get wickets and build pressure.
Having gotten your career best here in Chattogram, it seems like this ground is a favorite of yours. Was the pitch similar today to the one in 2018?
Yes, it was very similar. Day one pitch was very flat, good for batting. Then as the game continues, it started to spin a bit more. But yeah, playing here has always been good for me, so I just want to continue performing here.
What are your general thoughts on the Bangladeshi batting today? Do you think that the scoreline reflects what the pitch is producing at the moment?
I think they played well. They kept the patience for a bit. I think as a bowling unit, we let them off in the last session. So they didn't show good with ball because we was controlling the scoring very well. But saying that, well played to the batsmen as well, and very well done to the guys, the bowling unit.
You've bowled quickly throughout the air and a consistent fuller length. Was this your plan prior to the day's play?
Yeah, I find they like to hang back a lot, so therefore you try your best to bring them in front foot as much as possible, because when they play back they have a lot of time, so the more you bring in front foot, the more you ask questions.
The pitch looked to have a lot in terms of spin today. Just how much assistance do you think you got from the pitch?
I won't say I have a lot of assistance today. I got some balls to turn, but I wasn't turning consistently that you could say that I was assisting you all the time, so you just had to be disciplined and ball in the right areas.
Which wicket today was your favorite?
The one that went to slip, caught by Jimbo.
All right, thanks man. Good luck for the upcoming days.
Thank you very much.
Now, with 5 titles in 6 seasons of the regional 4-day tournament, Guyana Jaguars captain Leon Johnson wants to add the Super 50 accolade, but if no title, the more important aspect is the development of the younger players for the future. Akim Green reports.
Johnson has led the Guyana Jaguars in the last 5 regional Super 50 tournaments, of which they've managed to reach the final once in 2018. Varying theories were developed as to the rationale for the title drought, which dates back to 2005. But the skipper's not faded on the need to win, but rather the next generation of players that he needs to develop.
To go with the great success we've been doing, in the 4-day format.
Yeah, definitely. It would be nice to have that feather in the cap. But for me, it's more important to play well. Play well and obviously bring players along and try to help motivate, especially younger players in the team, help them motivate and better themselves as well. So, we'd always love to win titles, all right? But I think, as I said earlier, there's a process. and sometimes you can't always win. But I think if guys go to the tournament and they come back better players, that's a win in itself.
One glaring area as a factor in the lack of success is the below par strike rates of some of the main batsmen.
It's been a talk in the meetings, not just now, for several years. You know, especially in the middle overs when the spinners are bowling. It's not just us. Obviously, a lot of teams have that issue. But I think we've let all the plans out. But we've obviously had a discussion with our coach and our assistant coach Shiv. So obviously one of the better players that you would see of spin in the world, obviously in his time, and he's been working with the batters, and it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. Sometimes the trucks are, a bit hard to get the ball away, especially when you start. But I just think it's that mindset. If you go with a positive mindset and a positive intent, you obviously find a way to score. And I think that's what we lack sometimes, that intent and that mindset to score. And even if the ball is not there, all right, it's not there. But once you have the intent, you put a pressure on the bowler and he knows that, and he might, give you a scoring opportunity.
Meanwhile, the management setup has been boosted with additional performance analyst Dinesh Mahabir. In a statement on Tuesday, Cricket Guyana Inc. said the move is geared to enhance player performance and team success on a consistent and progressive basis. The decision to employ Dinesh Mahabir for the CG Regional Super 50 Cup was derived from CGI's interest and importance on the play and team review process, which has significantly lent itself to an inherent value of a 360 degrees assessment and analysis, CGI said. Mahabir is a cricket Australian high-performance coach. Mahabir's berth for West Indies as a performance analyst began with his assessment of the West Indies women's team, which was later completed by similar roles with the West Indies A and developmental teams, inclusive of the West Indies emerging players team. For the newsroom, Akim Green.
And after a string of 4 consecutive single-figure scores, Chris Gayle returned to his destructive best in the Abu Dhabi T10 League, blasting a shot-filled 84 not out of 22 balls to hand Team Abu Dhabi a comfortable 9-wicket win over Maratha Arabians on Wednesday. Chasing 98, Team Abu Dhabi were given a flying start by Gayle and Ireland opener Paul Stirling, who raced to 47 in 2.2 overs, with the latter making 11. Gayle started the chase with 3 fours and a 6 off consecutive balls in Yamid Ahmadzai's opening over of the innings before smashing 3 successive sixes off a Sampal Kamiz over, which yielded 27 runs. After the dismissal of Stirling in the 3rd over, Gayle brought up his 50 off 12 deliveries and proceeded to dominate an unbroken 2nd wicket partnership of 53 in 19 balls with Joe Clark, who made a pedestrian 5 of 6. Gayle struck 9 sixes and 6 fours as Team Abu Dhabi galloped to 100 for 1 in 5.3 overs. Before this game, Gayle had scores of 4, 5, 9 and 2 in the T10 League. Earlier, the Maratha Arabians made 97 for 4, with Ali Shan Sharafu making 33, Mohammad Hafiz 20 and Shoaib Malik 15 not out. The West Indian left armour, that's Obed McCoy, picked up 2 for 20. Now, the Everest Cricket Club Masters, in partnership with Speaker of the National Assembly Mansour Nadir, will host the Speakers Cup International Softball Tournament from April 2 to 4 in Georgetown. Akim Green reports.
The tournament will feature 16 teams, 6 overseas based and 10 local, who will compete in the Masters over 45 and Legends over 50. Attractive cash prizes and trophies will be awarded to the winners and runners-up, while the man of the match in each game will cop an award, and there will be a cash prize for the player of the tournament. The final will be played at the Everest ground as part of its fundraising efforts, and all of the established COVID-19 protocols will be in place. The tournament is expected to be the 3rd since the pandemic, with the Prime Minister's T20 Cup being held in November last year and the President's Cup tipped for March of this year being the others. Open quote, softball is a growing phenomenon in Guyana, and given the current times, we thought it fit with necessary approval to host this tournament during the Easter weekend. We expect it to be 3 days of exhilarating action, and most importantly, everyone will abide by the strict safety rules that will be established, end quote, a member of the organizing committee expressed. The official launch will be held on Friday, February 5th from 17 hours at Everest Cricket Club, Camp Road, where further details will be disclosed to members of the public. For the newsroom, Akim Green.
We tell you now that Sri Lanka head coach Mickey Arthur and batsman Lahiro Tiramane were found to have COVID-19 at the latest round of PCR testing conducted on the provisional squad, which has been preparing for the tour of the West Indies later this month. And this development might force Sri Lanka cricket to try and reschedule the team's travel plans. The tour is slated to begin on February 20. Last month, Seema Benura Fernando and the seam bowling all-rounder Chamika Kurunaratne had also tested positive for COVID-19 and were subsequently removed from the training group ahead of the West Indies tour. And finally, Golan Jaguars head coach Marzio Maximo has been seriously impressed by the level of desire and commitment shown by his squad in training. The Jaguars are preparing for the FIFA World Cup qualifiers in March and the CONCACAF Gold Cup prelims in July. Maximo shared his thoughts recently on the training camp.
For us, as the first phase in our preparation, it's very important to emphasize the physical part. Of course, in all trainings, you use the tactical and the technical part. But in first 2 weeks, especially first 2-3 weeks, we emphasize the physical part. That is very important. After 7 months of stop with pandemic, of course, it's not the ideal condition. But myself, Coach Wilson Toledo, and Coach Charles, our staff, Coach Rivera, we know that we have 1 month and a half to put them in the last condition that we lived before, and I think that we will get it. I think that's not a fact, because if you analyze the general situation, everybody have the same problem. You know, most countries have the same problem, because the pandemic affects everybody. Everybody start and try to do their best under the limit. We have our limit too, but we should fight against and still positive. We have 4 generations of players in our group. It's very important because we have players since under 17 until 32, 33 years old. It's very important because 4 generations involved in our group. Of course, majority are young players, but all generations show the commitment, show the performance, and start growing as a tactical knowledge to improve our team. I'm very happy with this commitment, especially with the efforts that Federation with Mr. Ford. Before, we brought most international players. Now no more. Following the Federation policy, you need to give a chance for our local players to be part of the group. Now more than 50% of the players, the total number, coming from Guyana. So we improve our local football, we improve the hope of the players to participate, even to go to international mark, especially young players. Also, we create the challenge for international players because they have limited to come. No more everybody just because international. The international players are very important for us with their experience, the game knowledge, the game tactical discipline. So, but together our group, to be realistic about our development in Guyana football. Trinidad, of course, have another structure as a participant of World Cup before, but nothing intimidates us. We know that the difficult challenge that waits us, but it's encouraging us, motivation us to do better, each day by day. We train almost every day in the Providence Center training. Our center training also improved to accommodation soon, to improve football in Guyana. The game is game. You can predict, but you think that we go with a good possibility to make a surprise.
And with that, we've come to the end of the news for us this evening. Of course, you can find updates on these and other stories on our website, Newsroom.gy, our Facebook page, and Instagram. On behalf of the entire news team, my name is Sabotage. Thanks for watching. Be safe. See you next time.